Welcome everyone, this is the 31 Days of Dread, and I am your host, Peter A. DeLuca, aka PAD, and this is where we do one horror movie a day for the entire month of October. That's 30, if you can't count, that's 31 movies celebrating the greatest genre of them all, the greatest experimentational platform of them all, the greatest young filmmaker discoverer of them all. It is horror, 31 days coming at you. Look out, ghouls and ghosts, it gets spooky. Alright everyone, coming out of that intro hot, this is what I call the telethon portion of the podcast. This is where I pitch myself to you for your support. Your support means everything to me because we're fighting, the AKAPAD army is fighting against algorithms everywhere. Algorithms, I ate some cereal earlier today, I dumped it into my bowl and it was full of algorithms. Okay, bad joke. Alright. Sharing this podcast, telling your friends about it, leaving comments, leaving reviews. This is how we grow AKAPAD's audio audacity. Your support there is more valuable than anything other than like a high five in person, because I'd love a high five in person. AKAPADers, we are here. Welcome to Fear Street for the 31 Days of Dread. Fear Street, look, Fear Street for me came out of nowhere. I didn't know what it was until I got into it, but it's a horror trilogy. I'll say that again. It's a designed horror trilogy. It's a 3-movie drop. Fear Street 1994, Fear Street 1978, and Fear Street 1666. Now, if you just look at those years, if you're familiar with how we tell horror stories, you know what the tropes built into these titles. What's the trope? The trope is we're going to reverse engineer the source of the evil, landing in 1666 because it is 666, and this will be the curse. This will be the reoccurring event that we get every decade, every 10 years, so on and so forth. The idea that this movie takes place in the 90s, or like the first one, is amazing. The way it's shot, we're in a Suncoast video, all these callbacks, all of these, they're almost like reflections of my mind's eye. They are an extrapolation of so much of my mall experience growing up. Fear Street 1994 definitely is designed for nostalgia, to give you a wink, a nudge, a little cute elbow, and says, hey, you remember this? Wasn't this cool? There's a amazing, trumping even Stranger Things. The food court design for this mall is there. It's freaking awesome. So there's those things. And then we reverse engineer the curse. We have 3 movies to do it. And Netflix has emerged at this point because Stranger Things solidified like this long form horror storytelling. You can kind of attribute American Horror Story for that. Also, the longevity of American Horror Story is really what Netflix is tapping into. But we forget, a couple years ago, Netflix made, what it was documented here on this very podcast, but Netflix made this investment. They made an investment on horror movies coming out around October. And Stranger Things changed, it transformed that investment, because maybe the horror movies weren't getting the exact type of traction. I mean, they had a month. I think they dropped 3 Stephen King adaptations in one freaking month. But now it seems, and Fear Street says that, Squid Game says that, our next episode, wrapping up the 31 Days of Dread, Midnight Mass, says that. What it says, it's, can we get 8 hours out of horror? Can we, can we get 6 hours? Is it 7 hours? What's the exact digestion of horror to where people feel satisfied? Indeed, this is the data. These are the analytics that Netflix owns. Okay, and as long as they own that, they will be able to make these judgments on how they deliver their content. And Fear Street is so unique because we never seen a intended trilogy dropped and made at the same time outside of Lord of the Rings. Okay, and no, and no one seems to be responding to it. No one just at least seems to be excited about that. And I really feel like, look, when you tap your audience on the shoulder and you say, look, we got something for you, but we're going to require this much time. That's an exchange. You're asking for people's time, Netflix. And with Fear Street, you kind of wanted, like, just watching this, you wanted this to be bigger. You wanted this to be popular. You wanted this deconstruction. This is everything that Scream was built on, especially like the 1978 summer camp movie or episode or installment is freaking awesome. The 1966 one or the 1666 one is freaking awesome. Now we go into some of these like counter tropes. We go into like the source of the curse is because I really don't want to spoil this. I really want people to watch it, but it goes against type. And it goes against type because we're in an age of storytelling where anything goes, and there is a experimentation trend happening as of relationships within characters and sexuality and identification and all of these things. And a lot of these creators are latching on to what's new and what's relevant and what's happening, but they're also storytelling devices or storytelling tools. So all of this like SJW, all this like wokeism, these are tools to tell stories, and Fear Street leans into it, doesn't go overboard, and I think that's a lot of what the source is. And I didn't even know this until like I had to research this right before I sat down, because I was just so curious, because I kept thinking about it. I'm like, man, like Fear Street is just so packed. There's just so much there. It's amazing. So, you Google it, you look it up, and you see that Fear Street's based on a novel series by R.L. Stine, the mastermind behind Goosebumps, who's also writing a Garbage Pail Kid novel series. And your boy over here has to read those because I'm beyond curious about what what that's going to be like. But yeah, and we have this mastery of R.L. Stine tapping into the genre that, I mean, R.L. Stine is top 2, top 3 horror creators. Just when it comes to like volume and content and absorption, it's like Stephen King, Dean Koontz, R.L. Stine, but the true master of them all is Clive Barker, for sure. And I don't care that Clive Barker has a low bibliography. What he does or what he did, he's on like a Lovecraftian or H.P. Lovecraft level. Like, you don't have to endlessly create to be the best. You just don't. But yeah, and I think this trilogy, Netflix making the investment into it, realizing what they could do, letting their creators create. But this really solidifies R.L. Stine as our beat maker. Like, he has his finger on the pulse, and he really knows where like the current is crashing, where it's going, where it's coming from. So I don't know. I think along the way, this is a worthwhile investment for your time. And if you want to deconstruct everything about the slasher like norms, the slasher tropes. I mean, this is very much like Joss Whedon's Cabin in the Woods, but long form and detailed and fun. These movies have a ton of awesome characters. They're kids. They're running around. They're trying to figure things out. It's just cool. Great deaths. Beautiful. Wonderfully shot. And a big shout out to our director, Leah Janik, who made a movie called Honeymoon, and she also directed an episode of the Scream TV show in 2015 called The Orphanage. But yeah, so she made this movie in 2014 called Honeymoon, and I would want to say that on the strength of this movie, she got her entire career. And I'm very curious about Honeymoon. So Honeymoon came out in 2014, grossed $24,000 in the box office. I just have to watch this. So we're gonna put this one on the list. 31 Days of Dread, everyone. We are wrapping it up with Midnight Mass, more Netflix. And yeah, I got some things to say about Midnight Mass, so hang tight. And to continue this telethon, when we're not talking about high fives, there's other ways to support me. I'm a living professional. I'm a full-time freelancer. Anything you see on this, like here on this podcast, or see my social media, I make everything. It's all made by me. That's a part of my pitch to you. And you can purchase professional services through AKAPAD.com. That's a pipeline to me if you want to send me a message. But also while you're there, you can sign up for my newsletter. You're going to get deals. You're going to get coupons. You're going to get 2 free trading cards mailed to you free worldwide. And they're 2 Wolfpack trading cards, 2 original characters, for upcoming comic book work. And speaking of comic books, you can go to Etsy, type in Uzi Susie, and that's where you're going to find my mini comic. You can purchase existing issues and pre-order upcoming issues along with bundles if you missed any, like issue 1, 2, or 3 or whatever. There, Uzi Susie is waiting for you. And keep an eye on Indiegogo. A lot of my bigger comic book projects will be available through Indiegogo. All of those updates will be here on this podcast, so if you're a regular listener, I'll let you know. We can rock and roll from there. So everyone, thank you so much, and feel free to reach out to me on social media, AKAPad69, Instagram, and Xbox. That's right, you can play Halo with me. Just straight up AKAPad on Twitter, straight up AKAPad on the Facebook. My business page is there. My personal page is there. Hey, be a personal friend of mine. I don't care. Let's talk movies. Let's talk creativity. Let's talk fun, and just who cares? Do you like, the Transformer movies? I love them. We can talk about that all night. So meet me there and we'll rock and roll. Let's get talking. We got a movie to discuss.